You may have heard that women are at risk for issues with bone health as we age. Fragile bones can turn a stumble or fall into a serious problem, resulting in fractures or worse. Osteoporosis and osteopenia are silent threats that affect millions of postmenopausal women. In this video, I'll share essential tips to strengthen your bones, meet your mineral needs, and preserve your mobility naturally so you can skip the medication. And if you're new here, I'm Dr. Gayla Gorman, a licensed acupuncturist, naturopath, and author of What's Your Kryptonite? On this channel, I'm here to help you reverse the effects of chronic stress so that you can cruise through midlife and beyond symptom free, so that you can put an end to common midlife symptoms like chronic fatigue, insomnia, mood swings, issues with gut health, and even weight gain. So let's get started by talking about the risk factors for women with osteoporosis specifically. So, if you are in menopause or have gotten to the point where you're transitioning into menopause, just know that your risk has increased significantly for developing osteoporosis due to declining estrogen levels. Women who are white or of Asian descent, have a family history of osteoporosis, or have a small body frame size are at even higher risk. If you're smoking, just stop consuming too much alcohol or living a sedentary lifestyle, all things that I caution against repeatedly if you stick around here on my channel. Just know that all of these things significantly increase the risk of osteoporosis. All of these things weaken bone structure, reduce bone density, and accelerate bone loss. In a 2023 article published on PubMed, the pathophysiology, risk factors, diagnosis, and management of postmenopausal osteoporosis was studied. Estrogen deficiency during menopause significantly accelerates bone loss and it increases the fracture risks. So, this obviously reduces quality of life because we want to be mobile and to live a very active life well into our advanced years. This review emphasized lifestyle interventions. It also talked about medications, and that is something that I want to caution you against. So, we're going to talk about some alternatives, but also preventative measures to mitigate disease progression and improve your overall skeletal health. Estrogen deficiency leads to increased osteoclast activity and it weakens the bone structure, and that obviously creates a heightened risk of fractures. Other risk factors include inadequate calcium or vitamin D, and even a genetic predisposition. And so there's not really a whole lot you can do if you have a genetic predisposition, but I will say that if the genetic predisposition, if the odds are that half the people who have a genetic predisposition are going to develop whatever condition, whether this be osteoporosis or something else, you want to be in the 50% that don't develop the problem. That means that you need to be even more diligent about making some of these lifestyle adjustments and taking preventative measures. Strategies include doing weight bearing exercises, really making sure that you're supplementing with vitamin D or calcium. If you have a known deficiency, we don't want to supplement with anything long term. We prefer to get nutrients and minerals from our diet, but if you have a known deficiency, then supplementing to boost your levels is definitely recommended. Hormone replacement therapy is sometimes recommended, but I caution against hormone replacement therapy as well. If you're wondering why, search my channel for the risks of HRT and you will have all that you need to know. So, what should we be focusing on? Well, what we really want to focus on is improving our nutrition, and that starts with our calcium intake. I just told you that I'd much rather have you get your calcium from your diet rather than relying on supplementation because your body is designed to pull what it needs out of what you're consuming. And when we supplement, we tend to get things out of balance fairly quickly. One of the ways that's always recommended to increase calcium is dairy products, but I find that many women are sensitive, have a food sensitivity to dairy, and it really causes other issues, digestive issues, issues with elimination. So I recommend that you skip the dairy products and really lean into leafy greens. Those are really high in calcium and make great salads. We ladies tend to love a good salad. So that's a great way to boost your calcium intake. You might also just look for other foods that are high in calcium and see if any of those foods are things that you just naturally enjoy and you can add more of them to your ongoing daily diet. You also want to be making sure that you're getting enough vitamin D, you're keeping your vitamin D levels high. The absolute best way to get vitamin D is through the sun, especially the morning sun. If you can get out in the morning for 30 minutes, go take a morning walk, get your morning sun, and get your 30 minutes of movement out of the way. You'll tick a bunch of boxes, and this will go a long way to keeping your bones strong and preventing osteoporosis. Vitamin D is essential for calcium absorption. So if you don't have adequate vitamin D on board, then you're not going to be able to even use the calcium that you're consuming. And so consider calcium and vitamin D supplements if the dietary intake is insufficient. And I would really caution you to only do that in the short term while you're figuring out what you can add to your diet to improve the nutrient density to address the specific issues that are important for you and your body. There's another article in the Nutrition Source. It was from 2023. Calcium is essential for maintaining healthy bones and teeth. We already know that. But it's also essential for supporting muscle function, blood clotting, nerve signaling. The body regulates calcium levels through hormones like the parathyroid hormone and calcitonin. So if you're having any sort of thyroid issue, just know that all of this could be related. And you want to make sure that you are keeping your vitamin D levels high or optimal, particularly tuning in to the power of nature's vitamin D, the sunshine, and that you are also making sure that you're getting enough calcium. Inadequate dietary intake really leads to the bone loss, and it happens gradually over time. So you don't really know that it's happening until you have some situation like a fall that leads to a fracture. And with the films, the x rays, they tend to determine it. Daily calcium intake definitely varies with age and gender, and so it's just important to know that you need to kind of monitor this for yourself. And it's easy to monitor your vitamin D levels. It's easy to get a quick blood test and to check your vitamin D levels. That's one of the best ways just to make sure that not only are you getting enough vitamin D, but that your body is assimilating it. Because, for me, if I take oral vitamin D, it really doesn't do a lot to my vitamin D levels. The only way my vitamin D levels come up is through the sun and exposure on my skin. When you get your vitamin D this way, it actually allows your body to assimilate it naturally. And this is what you want to do. It tunes up all your systems. If you weren't already convinced, calcium also supports vital processes like muscle contraction and heart rhythm regulation. So 99% of calcium is stored in the bones, but the other 1% is stored in blood and tissues. And you can see if that 1% is really helping to regulate your heart rhythm and your muscle contractions, then if the 99% that's supposed to be stored in your bones is low, you can see that it would also be robbing from these other areas as well. So it's really important to keep this front and center and make sure that you're monitoring your calcium and vitamin D intake. Hormones like this PTH, parathyroid, release calcium from bones when the intake is insufficient. And so essentially, you're robbing your bones to try to keep everything else working. And you can see why this potentially leads to conditions like osteopenia or osteoporosis. We already talked about some of the best ways to meet these needs, and leafy greens is going to be your best way of getting calcium. Your recommended dietary allowance is 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams a day, but that's going to really depend on what's going on with you in your world. And if you're already deficient, so if you're already deficient, you may need a little extra boost to get things back in balance. Exercise is a great way to prevent osteoporosis and reduce stress. Regular exercise reduces bone loss, improves muscle strength, balance, and coordination, and lowers the risk of fractures caused by falls. It is possible to overexercise and cause injury or even trigger adrenal fatigue, and this can sabotage your efforts. This is just an example of one of the countless ways stress creates symptoms and other health issues, especially during midlife. I created a video that shows you how to eliminate symptoms naturally, so I'll make sure to link to it below this video. But make sure you hit subscribe too, because I share a lot of tips when it comes to dealing with stress that's become toxic. Relieving the nasty symptoms stress creates makes navigating through midlife a breeze. So, how do we detect this silent disease when we really have no outward signs that it's going on? Well, for starters, we know we want to be monitoring our vitamin D levels. If our vitamin D levels are low, then osteoporosis is definitely a risk for us. And then we may need to run some additional tests to confirm or deny that we have a problem. Osteoporosis is often called a silent disease because this bone loss occurs without any symptoms. So there are screenings like a bone density screening. Usually we use something like a DEXA scan, but just know that you are getting some radiation with a DEXA scan. So you definitely do not want to be getting regular DEXA scans. This is something that you only want to be using if you really are at risk for having a problem. So if you are diagnosed, there are various treatments, including medication, but I really do not recommend medication. Rather, we want to start with lifestyle changes and do everything that we can to reverse what caused this in the first place. If we turn to medication, then that's going to put us on that slippery slope, and one thing leads to another. So if you can avoid the medication and focus on improving your overall health and well-being, that's going to go a long way to prevent any other sort of dis-ease from escalating in your body. In a 2024 article published by CNOS, osteoporosis was referred to as the silent disease. It progresses without symptoms until fractures occur, making detection and prevention essential. I talked about the bone density scans. So they're basically saying that the bone density scans, the DEXA scans, are the gold standard for diagnosis. And I don't disagree with that. I just want to make sure that we're not using these scans in a preventative way, because you're going to introduce too much radiation to your body unnecessarily. So most importantly, we want to keep our vitamin D levels up and make sure that you're exercising, including using weight-bearing exercises and making these other lifestyle changes, including the changes to your diet that we talked about. So making some of these lifestyle adjustments and monitoring your vitamin D levels is a small price to pay to keep your body strong and healthy, to take care of your bones and your structure, and to preserve your mobility well into your advanced years. So if your best efforts to live a healthy lifestyle and do all the things you've been led to think are supposed to work aren't getting the job done, you may even be feeling like you take 2 steps forward and 3 back. In my next video, I'll show you how to manage the toxic stress that's sabotaging your efforts. You can eliminate the symptoms that seem to be piling up in midlife naturally